We are live officially. Welcome to any and all who are joining us for the first webinar in a series brought to you by Sound HSA. My name is Stuart Lackey. With my co-founder, John Gordon. We're super excited to have you today and for you to start this journey with us. Sound HSA has been a product and an idea that has been in development for some time, and we are super excited and honored to bring it to you. And hopefully we'll provide some great educational content to get everyone more informed about a couple of things. How HSAs work, how to optimize HSAs, how to think maybe differently about a health savings account, and of course, Bitcoin is what we believe is the greatest long-term savings asset that is available to us. So why don't we get started this way? John, do you want to introduce yourself and then I'll follow on?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Stu, and great to be with you all here at this intersection of sound money and sound health. My name is John Gordon, originally from the Chicagoland area, and have over a decade of experience working in the healthcare industry and have been working towards integrating Bitcoin into healthcare for the last few years. After starting out doing strategy consulting for health systems, working in insurance and medical supplies, ultimately found that healthcare was broken because the money is broken. And as I was completing a double master's in health economics and policy in 2020, started asking the question, what is money? And it started sending me down this Bitcoin rabbit hole. And really grateful to have teamed up with Stu here to launch Sound HSA a year ago, and excited that we're live and here to share more about what we have to offer.
Fantastic. Yes. So everyone, Stuart Lackey here. I've been in the healthcare space for about, 25 years, mostly focused in the surgical device startup arena, neurosurgery and orthopedic spine, scaling companies, building sales channels, revenue models, and bringing those products to market. And I found Bitcoin in 2016 when I had a pause after I left a startup, SI-BONE, and had my eyes opened, like probably many of you watching this. Once you see Bitcoin and you devote the appropriate time of study to it, you can't look away. So as my career in healthcare and traditional healthcare and device continued to progress, I always was thinking about Bitcoin. And roughly in 2020, I had completed a master's in healthcare informatics and had started asking some tougher questions about Bitcoin, about what I was trying to solve, and could Bitcoin have some type of effect, a positive effect on healthcare, certainly in the US and maybe worldwide, but specific to the United States, fixing a broken healthcare system. And John and I will get into this in terms of $5 trillion spend, it's 20% of GDP. And much of what we do in the US is sick care, it's not healthcare. And so thought of the idea of Sound HSA a few years ago, but the regulatory environment was not ready for it. But the great news is that it is now. And so we have launched the product successfully, and we think that we have a tremendous unlock for many individuals and families to have access in Bitcoin within a specific tax advantaged account like the HSA. So yeah, back onto the healthcare system and maybe dig into a little bit of the statistics here. Again, we spend about $5 trillion a year on healthcare. That's crazy. And we lag many of our developed the peers in developed countries in terms of the spend and what we get for that spend. On a financial side, the average couple will need roughly $350,000 starting at retirement to manage those later years. That statistic is from Fidelity, and that number increases every year. 1 out of 3 Americans has medical debt. And when we think about the clinical side, from an outcome standpoint, 6 in 10 Americans have a chronic condition. 88% of Americans are metabolically unhealthy. A large percentage of Americans are clinically overweight or obese. And then the life expectancy in the US is lagging other developed countries. So we have a big problem on our hands. And the reality is most people don't think long-term enough about health, how they're going to afford healthcare as they move further and further into their later years. And so we believe the HSA product as an instrument is fundamental to that, and then coupled with Bitcoin is a unique combination.
In our view, the root cause of a lot of these challenges that we experience in the fiat healthcare system is due to an ever-increasing supply of fiat money. What is fiat? Fiat means by decree. It means government, or ultimately Federal Reserve, issued money. And we can see here that since the US broke the link to sound money, which was gold, up until August 1971, we had a tie of the dollar to gold. We've had a 30x increase in the dollar supply. And so what does that lead to? An increase in the prices of goods and services. And nowhere is that more evident than in the healthcare arena, where we have many different players involved. And as an individual, it's become very complicated to navigate this ever-growing healthcare system as we have it. And it's really difficult to plan, right? Because if you can't save dollars for your future, we've had people going to other areas to try to store value from your work over time. And whether that's the housing market, we've seen growth in the housing fiat price, but the house is really a consumption good, right? Just like healthcare, we're consuming healthcare goods and services, and the price tag continues to grow. Part of that issue as well is that 90% of healthcare spend in the US is third party, whether that's the government or health insurance company. So only 10% is out of pocket spend or direct spend from an individual for a good or service that they truly value. And one of the things that we're really combining here now with the HSA and Bitcoin is a vehicle where you can store value for your future healthcare needs, right? Try to reduce some of that future uncertainty. You don't know if you're going to get sick or a loved one's going to get sick. You don't know if the job that you have is going to take a turn. But what you can do is save for your future self in an HSA. The HSA was instantiated in 2003. It enables individuals to take control of their healthcare savings. It's triple tax advantage. Now, what do we mean by triple tax advantage? It is on the contribution side for money in. For an individual, your contributions are tax deductible. As an individual today, you can save up to $4,400 a year. And as a family, $8,750 a year that you can reduce from your taxable income. Now, if you're getting your HSA through your employer, which about 60% of individuals are getting their HSA through their employer, your employer can make a pre-tax and you make a pre-tax contribution into your own account. Now, for the asset within the HSA, there's no capital gains, so tax-free growth and then tax-free withdrawal on eligible medical and health expenses. So that's the triple threat. There's no other retirement vehicle like it in the US. And you can spend your HSA on an ever-increasing list of goods and services, right? You think about that as a doctor visit. Well, now you can also spend your HSA on direct primary care or a membership to build that relationship and have a great service from a doctor in your local area or online. Prescription drugs, hospital bills, co-pays, things you think of when you hear healthcare. But you can also have other preventative health purchases, even saunas, your beef, and more. You might need a letter of medical necessity from a doctor. But as you dig into your own health challenges and understand your own body and root causes, we know there are a lot of ways and things that we can do, movement, sunshine, good food, real food, to impact our health, right? Rather than it just being a sick care system. Now, the HSA does convert into a traditional IRA at age 65, taxed at your ordinary income rate if you wanted to spend on non-medical goods and services. And one nice benefit is there's no mandatory withdrawals that you will have in a traditional IRA. Really, and maybe Stu, you can speak to this a little bit in your own personal journey in using the HSA, but oftentimes the best utilization for an individual in the HSA is to save those receipts, go out if you're purchasing any health or medical goods and services, and you can hold on to those receipts. And we have a way to do that in our Sound HSA platform that we'll get into, and reimburse yourself tax-free at any point into the future, right? Yeah. And so that becomes really valuable to now hold that value in over that interim period as we see it in Bitcoin.
Yeah, John, a great point. And I think, sometimes it's tough, especially if we're at the beginning of our savings journey. Maybe you're a young family, or maybe you're kind of, you know, just a little bit of ways into your professional career. But I can speak to having an HSA for 18 plus years in our family. And we have done everything we could do to contribute the maximum contribution on an annual basis without touching it, right? Realizing that these triple tax advantages exist, and it's the best product in the tax code for most Americans who have high deductible health plans. And it's a powerful, powerful tool because over a working lifetime, and we do a lot of our CAGR assumptions, based on a 20-year period, right, of holding Bitcoin within the HSA product. I can speak to that. Like it is a powerful tool if you never touch the balance or your contributions and let that grow at some rate of return. It's amazing, and you can accumulate a lifetime of healthcare expenses. And so the caveat there is you save your receipts. John mentioned our receipt tracker at Sound HSA. We have that live now, and it's a great tool to allow people to basically build a future piggy bank of tax-free reimbursement. So if you're 25 or 30 or somewhere in that range, think about when you're 50 or 55. It's quite possible you'll have tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of out-of-pocket health expenses over that lifetime, especially for a family. And to be able to go back and reimburse yourself tax-free from the growth within your HSA is amazingly powerful. If we look at the addressable market, again, like what people ask, well, how big is an HSA? We had one of our team members today, he mentioned HSA as another acronym, right? That's foisted upon us as we think about financial planning. The health savings account actually has grown over time since it was introduced in 2003. There's about 40 million health savings accounts with about $200 billion in assets. This research is from Devenir, who produces a biannual report that is probably some of the best data in the business. And so we've seen this growth. The other piece of this graph, though, that is somewhat eye-opening is that about half of all HSA funds are held in cash, which really doesn't take advantage of the many tax advantages that the account offers. So, we think about the opportunity for people to consider Bitcoin for this type of vehicle in a self-directed HSA and to park even just a percentage of cash and dedicate it to a Bitcoin HSA with Sound, we think is a huge, huge unlock. If you look at the competitive landscape, and again, these are just a few players, but probably the major ones on the left side in the HSA landscape, some of you have already interacted with these products or maybe these platforms, and they all have evolved in a space that really, is constrained by a number of things. And we think about pain points when we built Sound. We thought about the pain points that maybe traditional HSA providers exude, if you will, in the way that they were built. So we think about self-directed account fees. Sometimes there's opaque fee structures with some of the legacy products that are out there. They can be tough to find. You may see a monthly fee, that just gets zapped from your cash balance in your HSA, for an example, and you have to go back and kind of research. Okay, what are the monthly fees, quarterly fees? Are there any fees? Is there a minimum account balance, as an example, when you think about the investment options, right? Often these accounts, and it's gotten a little bit better, but they're often limited to just index or market exposure via ETFs or a family of mutual funds, depending on risk tolerance, in addition to a US dollar savings account within the instrument. The customer support can kind of be tough to get somebody on the phone, to set up a new account, or do something what's called a balance transfer from custodian to custodian within an HSA, which is something we'll talk more about as we go forward today. It's a huge opportunity for you as a consumer. And then, the user experience, right? Some of these folks on the left have started to up their game with their mobile experience, which is great to see. But we really feel that there's an opportunity to offer a product with a self-directed HSA that really can be world-class. And so, yeah, those are those are, again, some of the more common categories that we're addressing as we've built out Sound and as we continue to improve the user experience. John, I don't know if you want to add anything to that as we think about kind of the differences.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to really over half of the value sitting in HSAs, which is money you want to be there for you in 10, 20, 30 years down the road, is sitting in fiat, right? And we saw the increasing supply of fiat. So if you're not investing even in the stock market, you're really going to be left behind. But now what we see is really the ultimate tool with this health savings technology is Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is sound money. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. And actually yesterday, we just saw the 20 millionth Bitcoin mined. The last million Bitcoin will be mined over the next 114 years. So we won't be around most likely to see the last Bitcoin get mined. But now that we hit 20 million, it's really, we're getting to the point of Bitcoin's maturity, having launched in January of 2009, 17 years now into Bitcoin. And it continues to grow, continues to proliferate to a point where it's storing over $1 trillion worth of wealth, right, at today's price. But even before we dig into price, and today we're sitting over $71,000 per Bitcoin, and you might see some things in the headlines. The price dips 50%, 80%, right? We've had these drawdowns in Bitcoin's history. Why? Because it's a new money. It's something that humans have never discovered before. To have a money that meets all these properties and functions of money, right? And first and foremost, and as it relates here in the HSA, is the scarcity aspect, right? And durability, right? There's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin. You can see on the left, the issuance rate and the inflation rate of Bitcoin over time is on a fixed schedule that can't be changed without consensus among stakeholders. So the Bitcoin price, and we're jumping to the seventh property, Bitcoin's issuance schedule, it's immutable, right? It can't be changed. And so this is, coming to this reality and understanding I can actually store my wealth in an asset, in a digital bearer asset that's also secured by physical energy, right? We have this physical tie to Bitcoin mining, taking in physical energy, generating blocks every 10 minutes. TikTok next block, right? This timestamp, we're around, just hit block 940,000. Every 10 minutes, we have transactions. And Bitcoin over time has continued to be used more and more as a medium of exchange, right? Bitcoin initially, in its white paper, if you read it, is peer-to-peer cash, right? And so having cryptographic signatures and proving your ownership and saying, yes, here is my Bitcoin. And then ultimately for businesses to say, pay me a Bitcoin, right? We're accepting Bitcoin here as an HSA company. I believe we're the first ones to do that in the US. And we offer 10% discount if you pay in Bitcoin. Why? Because we prefer it, and there's less transaction fees, right? If you pay with credit card, that's 3% transaction fee being taken. And now you have something that is portable. You can transfer value on chain globally in minutes or via the Lightning Network at the speed of light. So being able to bring that value and exchange it across mediums. And then ultimately, we can use Bitcoin as a unit of account, having divisibility and understanding. If you're new to Bitcoin and you're joining us here from more of the healthcare side, there's 100 million sats or Satoshis in one Bitcoin, named for the creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto. So that's 8 decimal places, right? It's kind of like cents are to the dollar. And so it's perfectly divisible, right? Because this is a digital asset too. We could go to more decimal places if we needed to. Maybe that'll happen as Bitcoin continues to grow in value. But ultimately, Bitcoin's fungible. 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. And as you see on the chart here, it's actually a very stable growth of an issuance over the last 17 years. Every roughly 4 years or 210,000 blocks, that issuance gets cut in half. And so the first 50% of Bitcoin was mined when every 10 minutes, 50 Bitcoin was rewarded as the Coinbase to the miner who mined the block. And so now we're at 3.125 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. The next halving will be in roughly a couple years. But compare this chart to this chart, right? This is the growth of the fiat dollar money supply over time. Clearly, it's been very difficult to maintain impossible to have a sound healthcare market without sound money, and really having individuals decide to say, I want to store my value and time that will be there for my future healthcare needs in Bitcoin, we think is the biggest game changer here. And we know, hey, you could go and open up another HSA and maybe get access to an ETF even that's out there. But we're removing layers of counterparty here. We get into our initial trust structure and how the Bitcoin actually sits. But
Yeah.
it's real Bitcoin in the HSA account. And so, Stu, maybe you can get into the origins and what we're launching here now with Sound HSA.
Absolutely. And you may ask the questions like, well, HSAs are so great. Why don't we know more about them? Right. Again, I mentioned it kind of falls into the three letter um, world of just financial terms, but um, we have an opportunity to really drive the literacy, and that's one of the biggest data points. If you talk to HR benefit managers, is the fact that there's just a lot of illiteracy around how to maximize health benefits and optimize for things like HSAs within the corporate environment. And so, part of what John and I want to do is really meld this together. That HSAs are an amazing instrument, and honestly, Bitcoin is the perfect asset to save within this amount, or with this account, especially if Bitcoin continues even just a modest compound annual growth rate that we've seen compared to its history. And so we launched Sound HSA to really give the customer a world-class experience and to offer actual Bitcoin in the HSA product. I mentioned earlier, I looked around in 2020 for an HSA, a Bitcoin HSA. There had already been an IRA product line that had been around for maybe 5 or 6 years, and I couldn't find it. And so we started thinking about it even back then, and kind of building the wireframes, and really under the auspices and belief that this product needs to exist for people that want to actually hold the bare asset of Bitcoin in a self-directed account. It's a powerful tool and combination. And so some of the feature sets that we have really held dear and have been really focused on is to, again, to allow Bitcoin to exist, for the customer to hold in a multi-signature cold storage solution. That's not a proxy, right? That's not an ETF. That's not strategy. Those are all fine, and people have the opportunity to have those instruments within a defined contribution account like an HSA or an IRA. We wanted to create a clean, simple, self-directed user experience. And I think if you download our mobile app on iOS or Android, or go to the new Sound HSA website that we recently launched, you'll see that we've held closely to those intentions. And then low friction. One of the toughest things with a self-directed account. Some of you may be saying, "Hey, Stu, John, I've got an HSA through my employer. It was kind of easy to set up because all the paperwork was there." If you've ever used a self-directed contribution account, like a self-directed IRA or self-directed HSA in this case, the friction for setting up those instruments. First of all, they're powerful. If you've never fully self-directed one of those accounts, you should look into it because they can open you up to other investment options. Again, this is not investment advice, but it's something that you should definitely look into. But the friction points of setting up those accounts, the manual paperwork, the filling out and faxing, and all of that can be, number one, very disparate depending on the companies you're working with. Can be very difficult, sometimes confusing when you're trying to complete those documents and find the correct address for for something like an originating institution and where you're transferring the funds into. We've created an experience that has automated that process digitally to about as far as you can, and we're continually looking for ways to even improve the experience. So things like transferring from an existing HSA custodian to Sound. We've automated that process, and if you go through our sign-on flow, you'll experience that exactly. So, the other piece, and John, maybe you can speak to this because it was really important when John and I started thinking about this product and how we could bring in not just the HSA, but other layer 2 solutions on Bitcoin that were important to our users. We started thinking about a Lightning wallet, right? And things like Move to Earn, which we'll talk about in a second. Again, connecting Sound Health to Sound Money. Those are really important. And so, John, maybe you can touch on the Lightning integration with Nostr.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I've been working in the last few years helping doctors and dentists and other businesses integrate a Bitcoin strategy, and that ease of use from the payment side is really important. So the Lightning Network was set up almost 10 years ago now, And it's a permissionless layer 2 on Bitcoin that enables you to spend Bitcoin and send it at the speed of light and still maintain control and maintain sovereignty over your value. And so what we wanted to introduce, at least to start as an educational perspective very much, but in everyday use, is that you can use and set up your own Lightning wallet within the Sound HSA app outside of the HSA structure, right? So we'll go into how the HSA works and our partners, they're enabling Bitcoin within the HSA. But even now, we can start playing around with the tools, open source tools, including Lightning and Nostr. Nostr stands for Notes and Other Stuff Transmitted by Relay. We're actually streaming now. If you're on zap.stream, you can watch us over there. And we're similar to Bitcoin, where you have your own public-private key pair to prove to the rest of the network that that's your money. You can have a public-private key pair for your identity and for communication and for sovereignty, and ultimately even where we see this going in terms of health data and other things that you want to have for your own control and can share selectively with friends or family or others in your network. So actually, if you sign in to our app, you can create a Nostr account via the Sound HSA app or log in with your private key, your NSEC, and share your status and of where you're at on your step challenge. We'll get into Move to Earn and other features down the road. So from day one, we have had Nostr integration. And then as of this week, we're really excited to share that we have the Breeze SDK, which is now embedded in our app, which enables us to offer Lightning payments in a self-custodial way where you actually have your seed phrase, your keys, right, in 12 words as a backup. That's yours, that you control, right? So it's important to delineate. That's the Lightning experience right now is outside the HSA. We'd love to bring that within the HSA in a compliant way. That's going to take a little more time on the distribution side and on the spend side to get that set up. But that's ultimately where we're driving to, right? And using Bitcoin to its fullest extent, not only here to start as the store of value, but then ultimately as a medium of exchange. And as we have more businesses and doctors, particularly direct primary care, right, which as of 2026 is eligible spend for HSA, we have Bitcoin docs that are DPCs. They can accept Bitcoin directly. So for now, you'll have to use the wallet outside of the HSA structure, but at least you might earn your first sats. And we'll get into that in a moment.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so why don't we start here, though, with the trust structure and where we're set up with our MVP and initial launch here. So we started taking on customers over the last couple months, got out of our beta phase, working out any of the kinks here. And so we here at Sound HSA, we're bringing about the Bitcoinization of finance, and we're partnering with existing Bitcoin and trust infrastructure out there to bring you this experience and support. And so we've partnered with Horizon Trust, which is a trust company based out of New Mexico, which serves as your qualified custodian for this triple tax advantage self-directed HSA. They have years of experience, and we'll bring in Greg Hurley in a future webinar, several thousand accounts that they've been supporting for years, and really high value customer service and support for us in facilitating those transfers, as Stu mentioned, and then everything on the tax and compliance side when it comes to contributions and distributions. And on the Bitcoin side, we have Digital Trust serving as your Bitcoin sub-custodian of the HSA, ultimately using BitGo and multi-signature cold storage on the back end. Digital Trust is the company behind BitcoinIRA.com, also been on the market for about a decade or so. And so through these partnerships, we're able to bring to you real Bitcoin within the HSA structure. And as an initial setup, we're really thrilled to partner here and bring this product to market. We see it could evolve over time, and as we bring Bitcoin in the HSA and continue to use it, we'd love to have continued feedback from individuals and customers that are out there. A little more on the Move to Earn side, and then we'll get back into some of the questions a bit further. On the Move to Earn side, you can earn sats for steps. We have a challenge ongoing right now. So if you download the mobile app, you can earn 5,000 sats for 50,000 steps. So we're using the native pedometer in the phone. As I mentioned, privacy first, really built with this Nostr integration. But this is open to anyone, right? And important to designate here for anyone who's tuning in, the HSA is only a tax instrument and a vehicle here in the US, but a lot of these tools that we're building, including Move to Earn, are available globally. So anybody can log in around the world, earn some sats for steps, maybe share a picture and what you're where you're getting those steps in. But we're using the native pedometer in the phone, and maybe Stu, you can speak to some of the original thoughts or the why behind moving your body and how that's so important to sound health.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, there's a couple of things I noticed when I got into the Bitcoin space in 2016, in our space, I should say. Um, Two things. I'd walk into a room and I immediately experienced a high level of intelligence. And I've worked most of my career with some, with neurosurgeons, orthopedic spine surgeons, and I was amazed at the intellect and just the thoughtfulness of the people in the room. The other thing I noticed, for the most part, that people had a long-term view of their health, and there was a level of health and kind of metabolic consciousness with most Bitcoiners, generally speaking, and thinking through the implications of decisions and putting off instant gratification. And again, there's a connection to sound health and sound money. It's not just a tagline for us. And so there's data out there, obviously, that suggests, over a certain number of steps can reduce cardiovascular risk significantly, right? And so we think about rewarding, things like steps, maybe other biomarkers or other fitness milestones, to the extent people want to receive rewards for that, right? What a novel concept. We think about the State Farm safe driver discount, right, for good driving. Well, why not, over time get reimbursed or earn rewards for staying in good health? Health is not binary, right? We know certainly the marathon triathlete that can have a cardiac event, and we've conversely seen people, metabolically unhealthy live well into their 80s and 90s. So, sometimes those things don't add up, but we know more often than not, if we do certain things from a physical standpoint, we have a great opportunity to live a higher quality of life. And so, Move to Earn is fundamental to sound. And so we're going to continue to build this out to where people can use it on a daily basis. And, within corporations, even we'll get into the employer model. We're even in conversation. And if any of you are out there or interested in bringing a Move to Earn challenge to your corporate department or your business, to your employees, we can and have the ability to curate a closed private challenge for your company. And so we're excited about bringing that to market. We think it'll have a huge impact, and we've already beta tested that with a large direct primary care group here in the U.S. So it's live and working. If you're interested in that at any point, feel free to reach out to us, and we can give you more information.
And here's a little more detail on the employer platform. Now, the initial product we launched is a self-directed individual HSA. Anybody can go online and at soundhsa.com and open an account and get started. The cool thing about the HSA is you do take that beyond your employer relationship, right? This is a sovereign instrument. You roll that over if you ever leave your employer, but you can get the benefit of direct contributions while you are an employee. So we can integrate with corporate payroll, HR software, and we have a pretty clean dashboard on the employer side that's available for companies that either want to make us your primary HSA option for any high deductible health plan, right? Or even as a secondary option. And that's what we're seeing a lot early on is people who are at companies, maybe you don't love your HSA option through payroll. You can open up a Sound HSA account and transfer your dollars over and then hit buy on the Bitcoin side. And we're really here to educate at this intersection of Bitcoin and healthcare. We're super excited to announce that April 8th, we'll be having a park forum at Bitcoin Park in Nashville, really making the case for Bitcoin and healthcare. We'll be joined by many other doctors, entrepreneurs, healthcare executives that are looking to bring Bitcoin in healthcare. Right? This is a $5 trillion industry. There's not one policy or one company that's going to change things, right? It really, we feel it needs to be a bottom up, as well as some top down opportunities to ultimately help enable Bitcoin to be proliferating in the healthcare system. There's a lot of interactions that happen where a quarter of the spend is administrative, half of that is waste, right? There's a lot going on that is also being exposed right now. So just coming to learn, understand how Bitcoin fits in, more innovative payment models, HSAs, even self-insurance for bigger companies as you grow. There's a lot of middlemen in the stack. And so having this opportunity to hear from a lot of the leaders in the field who are integrating Bitcoin already in healthcare, we're super excited about partnering with Bitcoin Park on that. I don't know if you have anything else to add on that one, Stu.
Yeah, I mean, if you have an interest in how we're all going to evolve in this new evolution of healthcare and how we're going to finance health, what that means for you and your family, you want to be at this event. You're going to have some of the biggest thought leaders in health that are looking at new models in the direct primary care industry. It's a significantly growing, accelerating industry. Physicians realize, and I think especially over the recent years, realize that something's not quite right. Obviously, the price tag is huge. There's a lot of bloat in the healthcare system. We've got to evolve. We've got to come up with new ways of thinking. And, how do we incorporate, in our case, how do we incorporate Bitcoin, as a solution to some of these problems? And personally, as we think about sovereignty, right? The HSA is a sovereign instrument, and we are pairing it with the most sovereign asset in known human history. And so the whole day is going to be filled with some great discussions, some thoughts, and our hope is that we walk away with some hardened understanding of what the implications are of incorporating and utilizing Bitcoin in a lot of these different parts of healthcare. So there'll be a good mixture of folks in the Bitcoin space, physicians, administrators, and those that are currently investigating Bitcoin and some of these new health solutions. So Nashville is the healthcare capital of America. It's a great place to do it, and we're super excited to partner with Bitcoin Park for the event. So we look forward to seeing everybody on April 8th. Come one, come all.
Yeah, and with that, we can open it up for Q&A. You can visit our website. Maybe even we will pull up the website here shortly and can walk you through a little bit more on what we built, but wanted to have the QR up here to go to soundhsa.com, check out the new site, or go to the app and open up an account here. So we've got the Apple Store and Google Play. We're also live in Zap Store. And yeah, we can answer any questions that you have about sound. And I see some came in the chat. And so want to address these questions. So right now the keys are ultimately being held with BitGo in a multi-signature setup utilizing their cold storage. They're a publicly traded company now out of New York and South Dakota. The Bitcoin can't be rehypothecated. At this time, we're not doing proof of reserves, but that's something we're building towards for sure. And just as any other account, a self-directed account is protected in a case of bankruptcy. And once the account is funded with dollars, does the full amount need to be used to purchase Bitcoin? So really, really good question. That is up to you as an individual. We're seeing a lot of early customers are going 100% in Bitcoin and trading all of the dollars that they have into Bitcoin, but you can decide how often you want to do that. You can absolutely purchase it in increments. You can keep some in dollars, and then Bitcoin is also insured. And so, it's up to you and how you want to frame that. If you need to make a withdrawal, you can, again, upload your receipts and you can withdraw back to your bank account. Right now, the distributions will need to be in Bitcoin. The distributions will need to be in dollars. We love to distribute in Bitcoin and in kind, but that'll come in time. So right now it is dollars on the withdrawal side, but you can decide where that is held. And actually, I can pull up the site here.
Yeah, well, John's doing that. There is just to clarify, there's a Cash Caddy account within the instrument, right? So when you go to your dashboard, you deposit funds in USD, you theoretically can keep them in cash and do, market buys at your discretion. So we've made that part of the platform. So, okay. So John's got okay, this looks great.
Yeah, so if you look at our site, we can give you a little overview, on the product side. But you can see here on the dashboard, you have your USD balance alongside your Bitcoin balance. Will help you along the way in understanding where you're at in terms of your contribution limits. Again, the main stipulation now, we also have in our FAQ section a whole lot of resources. If you do have questions, which is some of the top ones we get around, am I eligible for an HSA, right? You do need to have a high deductible health plan to open up an HSA account. At the current time, we think that might even change in the future. And other questions you might have as an individual or family, you can set up, link your bank account, add a beneficiary to the account, and so on. And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
John, just to add real quick, again, we've constructed all components of the website to be very user friendly. So every FAQ that you could possibly imagine, and we'll add them as we get them, will be on the site. We have Kager calculators, so you can kind of build your own assumptions in terms of the growth potential of Bitcoin in this type of account. Things like just even the contribution maxes. People are like, well, I don't even know how much I can contribute. It is plainly featured through the sign-on flow on our site and through the contribution screen. So we don't ever want to leave anything in doubt, and we've tried to build a knowledge-based site without over communicating, the information and opportunity. So, yeah, really pleased about that. But yeah, as John said, we're always open to taking feedback. So as you engage with the product.
Mm-hmm. And then in terms of the pricing model, it's $300 a year for the account administration, one-time $50 activation fee, and 1% on the exchange of Bitcoin for dollars on the buy or sell side within the platform, which is pretty standard that you see across exchanges. And we are offering that 10% discount if you pay in Bitcoin. Our checkout's powered by Zapright, a really awesome tool where you can pay with fiat or Bitcoin or Lightning for the HSA account, and sharing some videos along those lines. But yeah, more information here. See where hopefully that answers those first set of questions, Kevin. Awesome, thank you. And then I see Ola. We've got you hit your step goal on the treadmill. That's awesome. Yeah, if you can get outside, great. If not, get on the treadmill for sure. It's still cold in a lot of places. Can we have a passcode biometric for the app? Yeah, that's a really good suggestion. We can certainly add that to the main wrapper on the app. On the Nostr side, we do have 2FA. If you are an HSA customer, you can log in and use your email and password as you would online in the mobile app, and we have a 2FA passcode on the HSA side, but we can certainly add that outside of the HSA too for the rest of the app. Yeah, a little more information here, again on our partners, and yeah, we'll see do we have any other questions that came in yet?
Yeah, John, I've got a question here. The question is, what if I already have an HSA? Can I open a Sound HSA account? The answer is yes. And just like an IRA, you technically can open as many HSA accounts as you want. You just can't exceed the maximum contribution for that calendar year as an individual or family. So in the case of 2026, the individual contribution max is $4,400, and for a family, it's $8,750. So what we have seen, and this is something I've personally done in the past with W-2 jobs, and again, this is not investment advice or how to allocate or manage an HSA. This is just what I've done. Is if you have an HSA with your employer, you can benefit from the pre-tax funding of that account, and then at some interval, whether it's quarterly, whether it's every 6 weeks, whether it's annually, you can transfer direct to, in this case, Sound HSA, as many times as you want in a calendar year, in a 12-month period, into another HSA account. And so people would say, well, why would I want to do that? Well, obviously with us, it's to get direct Bitcoin exposure. But maybe you have an HSA account with your employer that's just cash, or it's just very limited in the ETF or mutual fund offering that they provide. And so think about that direct transfer process. It's a huge opportunity, and you absolutely can hold multiple HSAs at one time. Good question. John, another one. Is this only for Bitcoin people? No. We hope if you're not a Bitcoin person, you will become a Bitcoiner and learn about the technology. This has been created for everyone, and so we think holding Bitcoin within an HSA is a great way to start because of the triple tax advantages of it. And if Bitcoin, again, we don't ever talk about or promise a return. This is not investment advice, but looking historically, if Bitcoin has some type of moderate compound annual growth rate, an HSA might be something to consider because of the growth protection on those gains. So we're for everybody, and we hope everyone becomes a Bitcoiner. So another good question.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and everyone starts their journey somewhere, and we hope that we can meet people and find people here in the health and healthcare arena. Maybe you're familiar with HSAs, or maybe you really want to take control of your health, and this is a new avenue for you to learn about Bitcoin. And that's a big reason why we have Move to Earn, how you can experience the Lightning Network and see how easy it is, and really a great user experience. We believe Bitcoin, again, is savings technology, is health savings technology, and can benefit you into the future. So you, after using our product, you probably identify as a Bitcoiner, right? I mean, and that's something else, I think that differentiates us from other companies out there. But really, we're focused on Bitcoin, right? We know there's other things out there. There's a lot of noise, but we're trying to provide that signal here by streamlining and getting real Bitcoin into the HSA account, which is new and novel here in the US. And so we're absolutely all ears and welcome to people that this might be your first Bitcoin experience. We can help you along the way. We have some resources already on our site, but we can also point you to some great partners of ours that are building in the space and great education and tools that we've relied on already as a business to even make this possible, right? And the industry continues to mature, and the tools keep getting better and better. And so we're excited to help you along in your Bitcoin journey.
All right, fantastic. I don't see any other questions. So maybe why don't we do this? If there are no other questions, why don't we conclude? And then maybe John, maybe give some contact information on how people want to get a hold of us. Obviously, the website www.soundhsa.com. And I know we're all across social now too.
Yeah, absolutely. You can head to soundhsa.com. You can follow us on X, on Nostr, or on LinkedIn, where we'll be posting updates, and follow along on our journey. We'd love to hear from you. You can also reach out to support@soundhsa.com if you have any questions or want to get set up. We're happy to hop on a call with you on our website as well. You can schedule a call. We've got a Calendly link in there. Happy to hop on the phone, answer any questions that you might have. So, and awesome, Kevin, we'd love to have you. Going to create your account, transfer from Health Equity. We're really happy to have you. That's great. And yeah, for anyone else who's out there, maybe you're tuning in after the fact, we will be having some more live streams, some more webinars over the coming weeks and months. We'll also share some of our public schedule coming up. We mentioned the event April 8th. We'll also be at BitBlock Boom in Dallas that weekend on the 11th. And then we'll also be in Vegas at the end of April for the Bitcoin conference. So if you're planning on being at any of those events, make sure to stop by and say hi to Stu or myself. And yeah, I'm the Bitcoin Yogi on X and Nostr. I see a lot of intersection between Bitcoin and yoga. I've done some writing on that over in the past, but really passionate about bringing Bitcoin here into healthcare. And so yeah, feel free to reach out. Anything else, Stu, that you want to add?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter X as well, on LinkedIn, Stuart Lackey one on X, and yeah, feel free to reach out to us. Again, we built this product to start for Bitcoiners, and it's been built by Bitcoiners. And again, this is a product that we feel a lot of people take advantage of. We hope they do. We believe in education and helping people understand the opportunities with Sound HSA that exist, and we want to continue to improve the product. So if you have a question, please reach out, as John kind of gave you those different pathways. We're very much hands-on, so we want to hear from you. We want to spend a lot of time with you as you come on board and go down this journey with us. So we look forward to seeing you guys on the trail. Feel free to reach out, and we appreciate your time today.
Thanks, everybody. Have
Thanks,
a great
guys
one.
and gals.